What happens when the person telling the story can't be trusted? This is about horror that messes with the mind, not just monsters.
I'm unmuted this time.
Hey! All right. I can do solo layout from the thingy now. That's an update. Anyway, hey there, aspiring horror authors. It's another episode of Sako and the Moon, a podcast by two self-published horror authors walking the path of horror craft and marketing. I myself am dark artist and designer Sako Toomey, but I also write horror under the name Cass Voigt. I do a bunch of other things, but I'll just mention that I'm published 4 times over. That's 3 standalones and an award-nominated anthology. And I'm working on a couple of books, one of which I'm about to write the end at, and also a serial. I've been working on my craft for decades, and now I'd like to share my skills with you guys.
I have a whole lot less to say.
Yes.
I'm just good old-fashioned Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and I write stuff, I film stuff, and I talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah, that's not wrong.
It is indeed correct. I've seen me do it. It's crazy. Also, there's been a whole bunch of new projects that are just falling all over my desk. And I'm just because that's what a busy creative needs. It needs more projects. Somehow that makes us feel better. We would all rather have 20 untouched projects than one finished one. God forbid. Can't do that.
Mm-hmm. No, don't freeze. Okay, good.
You're stalling there for a little bit. You've been freezing a little bit for a second, but
really,
we're going to be all
right.
My
internet has not been great today.
It's okay. We're going to get through this. We are going to get through this. I promise.
Okay. Good.
And if you don't believe me in saying that, it's probably because you perceive me as an unreliable narrator. See how I did that? See how I did that? That is what this episode today is all about. She's got probably a really cool intro that she's I'm interrupting, but that's ultimately what we're doing. We're talking about the unreliable narrator, the person who is telling you the story, but probably shouldn't be. And how that becomes a whole ass trope.
That's right. The lie we tell ourselves. Unreliable narrators in horror.
Which is a really great device. I love the unreliable narrator.
Me too. Writing it, reading it. I love stories that use it.
Here's the thing about the unreliable narrator. For those couple people who may not understand what the unreliable narrator is, it's just what you say. The narrator person telling you the story, for whatever reason, is unreliable in telling you the story. Something about that character telling you the story makes it seem like they probably shouldn't. Or, at the very least, they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they're seeing pink elephants when there shouldn't be. Maybe the person is using drugs. There's an interesting example.
Or sleep dipping, as
sleep deprivation.
Some books.
So, does anyone remember the show Flash Forward?
Yes.
Not the one with Jewel State, but because I love that show too, because Jewel State's amazing. But it was a show where everyone fell asleep all of a sudden. And one of the people who is working on the case from the FBI, everyone has a memory of that entire, like, what was it, like 137 seconds, whatever it was. Everyone remembers, their memories last 137 seconds. It's 2 minutes and some odd, 2 minutes and some change. Everyone's memory is about 2 minutes and some change. Everyone who had a memory dreamt for about 2 minutes and some change, except for one guy. His only lasted seemingly like 30 seconds, and he didn't know why. Turns out he was drunk. At the time that this is taking place, like when it jumps to the future, 6 months, in that moment, he's drunk, which is a bad sign because he's a recovering alcoholic. So he's supposed to be sober. So the idea that he's drunk and he's trying to go back through his memories from the dream, the time travel dream, they can't trust him because he's drunk in the moment. So how do we know what he saw is what he saw, or he perceived it accurately? Now we have to take the information because he's using that as basis for his case. And how do we trust that? How do we know that there was this happening or that happening? He was drunk. We can't rely on that. Imagine if you're writing a murder story and the only eyewitness was a drug addict or an alcoholic, and they were mid-usage during the time. The only witness is someone who is otherwise unreliable. And that is kind of like the most honest version of this trope that I can give you as it relates to real life. And one of my kids are knocking on my door. Give me a sec.
Okay, so yes, we are talking about the unreliable narrator. She is, or they are tainted. They are altered by trauma. They are altered by mental illness, supernatural influence, manipulation. There's usually a why.
Yeah, and once you figure that out, that's usually part of the big storytell. It's not just that, okay, so like something happens, someone's unreliable, they're telling the story, and then half of it is trying to figure out how much of that is true. The other half is trying to figure out how this happened to them. Was there like an alien that we now have to worry about? Is there like something in the water, a drug or something in the water? It's those kind of things. And there are so many ways to be unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's like alien influence, psychological impact, or one of my favorites, if you're the one that's guilty. So you're purposely trying to throw everyone off the track. So you're looking at things and interpreting them oddly, or maybe you just don't understand, but that's because you giving the answers would give yourself away.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to go back and discern how much of what was told by the narrator is actually fact. And when you start to notice, and you catch that person by like catch them in the lie, and they're like, oh, well, so-and-so said X versus Y. And then that's I can't remember what movie that happens in. It happens in some movie. But yeah, that happens in a movie where the person giving you, is it Megan is Missing? Megan is Missing. I think that's the one. No. The one where the father is looking for his daughter. That's not Megan is Missing. Ooh, it's close though.
All right. You went to define it. So it is a narrator who can or won't tell the truth. So this differs from a twist ending, but like it can be a twist ending, figuring out that the narrator is unreliable.
Searching.
Or
that's the name of the movie I was talking about.
Searching. What about Searching?
Searching is the movie I was just talking about, where the guy is looking for his daughter is missing, and it turns out that he looks to the police chief for help, and I think that's the movie where it turns out the police chief is actually involved in it, and she's been misleading him. So it's not quite an unreliable narrator, but it's the same thing. He's getting information fed to him that's intentionally deceitful. So,
yes.
Unreliable. So
Unreliable.
we got some good examples of unreliable narrator films.
And more will be coming down the line, I promise.
Yeah. Oh, I got a couple. Yeah. Some classic ones. Some classic ones.
All right. Why are they so effective?
Why are they so effective?
Why are they so effective? They create uncertainty. So make the reader feel safe and then smash that.
Because I love when you're imagine following someone down a trail because they know the trail, but then some weird stuff happens. So do you know the trail? Do they know the trail? Should I be following them? And a lot of times, especially if you're reading this, or actually just any kind of consumption of this, if you're reading it particularly, it makes you need to turn the page because, like, am I kidding? Like, am I just going crazy? Or is it this? Or is it that? And you have to keep turning the page to find that out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always the goal. Whatever the goal is, whatever you're writing, the goal is to make the person turn the page. Give the reader a reason to turn the page. It's your number one goal. From page 3 to 4, from 4 to 5, from 5 to 6. Give the reader a reason to turn the page.
That is fair. Yes.
This is the most simplistic way of talking about writing. The most simplistic way of talking about it. Like when you're writing a story, the goal is to get them to turn the page. So in this particular case, utilizing that confusion, that mystery that hits that, people want answers. Naturally, we want answers. So anything that poses questions that need to be answered makes the person want to continue and turn the page and go chapter to chapter in your book.
Absolutely. Reflect mental instability. So it makes the inner demons just as terrifying as the outer ones. Mm-hmm. They heighten the dread because you're not just afraid of the dark, you're afraid you misunderstood everything that had happened thus far. And they invite multiple interpretations.
Yes.
So what is real? What's imagined? Ambiguity is the horror.
Yes. And then, of course, there is the number one fear of nearly anyone I can think of, and this is you two out there in YouTube land, when the number one person you can't trust is you. It's one thing if it's your friend or your partner or your neighbor or the tour guide or the boss at work. All that's one thing because you can always trust your own instincts, right? But when the person you can't trust is you, there's nothing more terrifying to you than I can't trust that I'm seeing what I'm seeing. How do I know that this ghost is really a ghost? How do I know that this threat is really a threat? I'm always talking about how everything goes back to wrestling, but on this show, everything tends to go back to Scream. Somehow I do that. Scream 3 is a very interesting example of this, very briefly, only a part of it, because there is a part of Scream 3 that is arguably like Sydney losing it. You know, she doesn't know what there's seeing her mother, but that's a dream sequence. But there's the part where like she's on the set and she saw like the ghost pulling up from underneath the blanket, opposite of Ghostface. So it's not Ghostface. It's someone else or something else popping up from under this blanket. And that's now she's questioning her own reality. She's questioning what she is seeing, what she's experiencing. And if you're the final girl and everyone's basing everything on you, the whole movie's in disarray. And everyone's investigation's in disarray. Because you can't trust you. And now you are willing to dismiss your threat to going crazy. It is so effective.
It is super effective. One, it's a genuine fear. Two, it's one of my favorite tropes. If I'm like, I have a habit of saying, I don't like this trope. I don't like that trope. But for tropes that I actually like, Unreliable Narrator.
So one, I want to just, do you have like a list that you're going to get into at some point of movies?
Right next.
Okay, yep. I was going to say there's one that fits this one perfectly. And it's probably the one that, like for everyone at home who's like struggling to picture one, the moment we say these two words, you'll think of every other one that comes to mind. Do you want to hear the two words now? Or do you want me to get the list?
Let's go through the list first, and then yeah. All right. So one of my favorite movies, they used it as a twist, but Stonehurst Asylum, 2014, Edward Newgate, aka Dr. Lamb. The story is framed through Edward Newgate, a young doctor investigating the asylum, but nearly every major character is hiding their true identity.
Okay.
Dr. Silas Lamb, who has overthrown the asylum's previous management, presents himself as compassionate, yet his methods and motivations are deeply questionable. And the audience is left disoriented, unsure of who is sane or mad, reflecting how unreliable all the perspectives are in the asylum.
Now, see, that's good. And I like when that reminds me of Shutter Island.
Okay.
Not the two words. Those are not the two words.
Okay.
But it's another one where basically you're following these two investigators, these two FBI detectives or whatever, and they're going on Shutter Island, which is an asylum, an isolated asylum, and everything seems off, right? And there's little bitty signs throughout the course of the movie, and it comes down to it that the main investigator is actually a patient. He's actually a psych patient there, and he's coming to terms with some stuff. So everyone allowed for this elaborate ruse just to eventually bring him back to the reality of things. Like, it's crazy. It's weird that they would go through so much trouble for one patient, but plots. What else you got?
I got Grace from The Others, which was 2001.
So the movie is called The Others, and Grace would be the mom.
Grace was the mom.
The Nicole Kidman character.
Right.
And that's more of the reveal at the end, because you get to see.
They used it as a twist again. Mm-hmm. Right.
And these work as twists because and you're going to see a lot of that. And the main reason would be if they tell you up front that you can't trust anything, you may not bother. So they want to feed you story and then make you question what you saw. Because if I say, ooh, look, there's a monster behind you, but you turn around, there's nothing. Okay. But if you turn around and see a monster behind you and then look at me and say, hey, did you see that? And I'm like, no. Now you're starting to see how it hits you different. There's a big, like right now with Sako, like Sako can't see behind her except for with her screen. If I say, Sako, there's someone behind you, and she turns around and sees nothing, I look unreliable. If Sako's like, did you see that? And then all of a sudden, like, no, you're fine. You're just being weird. Like, you're freezing and glitching, but like, there's nothing there. And then now she's questioning herself. And depending on which perspective we're trying to tell this story from, the person who you can't trust is the one seeing things. Now we have questions. Is he actually seeing things that aren't there? Or is everybody lying to him? Like, is everyone in on it? And now there's questions. When there's questions, you seek answers. And when you seek answers, you turn pages. And that's how that works.
So Grace thinks her home is haunted, and the audience trusts her grief-stricken, fearful point of view, right? Mm-hmm. The twist reveals that Grace and her children are actually all ghosts, and the people she thought were intruders are the living, and her denial and trauma distort her reality, making her an emotionally unreliable narrator who cannot see the truth. And the last one,
I got a couple more.
You know what? How about you tell us your 2 words?
I have to guess. I'm praying that your 2 words are your last movie is my 2 words. Do you have a 2-word movie title?
It is a 2-word. It is a 2-word movie title, but I don't think it's going to be the one you're hoping for.
Okay. So we want to go with mine?
Yeah.
American Psycho.
I was thinking of making that our movie. That we watch over the weekend.
Because here's the thing.
It's American a super Psycho, watchable movie.
It's a super watchable movie. It's a easily critiquable movie. Don't watch the sequel. But here's the thing about American Psycho, and this is why it's like the poster child movie for this trope. You are watching the whole thing from Patrick Bateman's perspective, and he seems pretentious, and he even talks about how pretentious he is, and everything you see is from his point of view. He's your it's narrator. That third person narrator where you follow basically one person. Mm-hmm. You're always following him. You're seeing everything he's doing. You're with him. You're doing the things with him. But then it's like he kills a guy, and then they're like, "Oh no, he's in London." It's like, "No, bitch, we just killed him. He's in a bag in the closet." He's like, "No, he's in London. I talked to him twice. It's fine." It's like, no. Imagine if someone said they just saw the dude you just killed. And then there's little things like the ATM wants to feed a cat to him. Like, it's weird. It's little weird things that make you like, wait a minute. Is he okay? Like, is he tripping? And I can't wait. If we do this movie as our movie for next week, I have so many questions about the ending. I would love your perspective on it. So,
yay! Okay.
So I will save all of that for next week when we eventually review American Psycho. Because I want to do that movie anyway because it's such a great movie. And I have so many questions. I would love to explore the ending with you. But I don't want to waste it here if we're going to review it in a few days.
Indeed.
So I have Shutter Island, which I've already talked about, American Psycho. I have 2 more on this list. What was yours? Your last one?
The Shining.
Neither one of my last 2. So talk about The Shining.
Okay, so Jack's descent into madness is shown primarily through his deteriorating mental state and supernatural experiences at the Overlook Hotel. Yeah. His hallucinations and violent outbursts raise questions about what is real and what is psychosis. And as Jack becomes less trustworthy, the narrative blurs between subjective madness and objective haunting, making the viewer question every scene.
Yes. And here's the thing, and I feel like this deserves to be mentioned. A lot of this, there's a space to discuss where some of these movies that utilize this trope seemingly take advantage of mental illness. And while I'm sure most people, particularly in newer movies, would be sensitive to those who are suffering with from mental illnesses and mental health issues of all sorts, nor should we be viewing mental health challenges as negatives or fodder for evil. What we're ultimately looking at here, particularly in this trope, is when you can't trust, in this case, like the main character, right? Things usually happen to the main character, but here you can't trust the main character. Not because they're evil or bad, but because you can't trust their perspective on the world around them. And when something is internal, it's in here. So please, I know there's always space for someone to get upset about this being overdone and overused and people being upset. And while I respect and understand that, let's keep it 100. Let's make a spade a spade. If something's going to happen in here, something abnormal happening in our mind, we're going to translate it as a mental illness, regardless of what we call it. No matter what they call it in the script, no matter what they call it in the movie, that's something in their mind is ill. Call it what you will. And this is not to downplay or demonize those who all suffer with the miscellaneous, because there's so many different things.
Not at all.
So not us, not me, not Sako, and I don't think horror at large is really trying to take advantage and or demonize or belittle these type of things. I feel like it's important to really kind of point that out.
There are some movies that do it, and there are some movies that don't.
Some people probably take advantage of it. There are a lot of there's conversations we were having today, me and some other friends, about how autism is used and viewed by people, how it used to be viewed by people, and how people kind of look at autistic people as negative or weird or rude or blah, 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 blah. And as someone who's got autistic friends and have, friends with autistic children, and I have an autistic daughter, there's nothing wrong with autistic people. They're just people whose minds work differently. It's literally it. Their minds just work differently. But when your mind works differently in a horror space, that's just what that is. Something has to veer from normal in order for the horror to happen. And that's regardless of what. Whether it's things at work have to happen different for horror to happen, like the Belko experiment. All of a sudden there's security guards. That's variation from the norm. That's weird. Then the horror happens. Scream. The mom is murdered. Then all of a sudden the friends are murdered nearby. That's an offshoot. So that's not a normal thing that happens. And then the horror happens. So something has to swerve and then the horror happens. So I just want to make sure that we are acknowledging that while a lot of this trope is filled with movies where the person is suffering from mental illness, also know the tropes have chemical induced things. But, The Shining, someone's crazy. American Psycho literally uses the word psycho in it. Shutter Island takes place at an asylum. I see where this can lead to a lot of the conversation. So I just kind of wanted to mitigate that a little bit now. We
could do a whole episode on mental health and how it's portrayed.
We could. And honestly, we could do an entire episode on mental health as a creative, which might be a good two-parter, to be honest with you. Because there's a lot of questions. A lot of us creatives, we deal with something. We all got something going on, whether it's a bit of autism or ADHD or executive dysfunction from this, that, and the third. There's always something. Most of us in horror, we've got trauma to deal with. That's always fun. But again, I just wanted to make an acknowledgement because I can hear us talking about mental illness and the asylums and the this, that, and the third. And it's important to recognize that the trope is still a trope. It's still what it is, but it's important to not demonize the existence of mental illnesses. Like no one sensible is going to say you have a mental illness, therefore you're evil, and you should be demonized in forms of media. So,
and no one intends. Obviously, no one intends to do that, right?
No sensible person intends to do that.
No sensible person would intend to do that. However, no, I should save it for the mental health episode. I should.
We'll go there. Yeah. That'll probably be a season 5 because season 4 is ending soon. We got a holiday and then like Imaginarium's coming up in a couple weeks. So we've got time in the off season to plan season 5. Season 5 is going to be dope, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Season 5 is going to be sick.
Like if you haven't done it just yet, go ahead and take a quick second before I go into my last 2 movies. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell. You're going to want to see us at Imaginarium. That's in a couple weeks. We're going to do our finale at Imaginarium. You're going to want to be part of that. I can't wait to talk about that because I have 2 panels to moderate. I'm on 3. I get that AI panel. Oh, that's so much fun. I'm going to be on that AI panel. There's going to be fights. That's going to be so much fun.
There's going to be fights.
There was almost a fight last year.
There was.
Yeah. I was right there when it was happening. I digress. The panels I'm going to be on, just to mention them because they will come up in conversation for those that episode. It'll be the ethical use of AI, creating culturally diverse characters, and then of course writing and wrestling. How everything comes back to wrestling. So that's going to be the fun part.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And I have a laundry list of awesome stuff that I'm doing during Imaginarium.
She's going to be dancing.
So as soon as I get
things?
Yeah.
Those other things she's always talking about in the intro? Yeah, we're going to see all those things at Imaginarium.
We're going to see most of those things at Imaginarium. Yes.
Yeah, you should reach out to make sure you get your schedule.
Yeah, I need my schedule. And
yeah, but double check with her. Double check with her because she may have sent it, but you might have the same issue I had.
Firewall sort of situation.
More or less. 2 movies. Now we've done promoted shit. 2 movies left that I have on my list. One is Fight Club.
Yes, that came up. That
horror. Questionable.
I thought of that. Which is why I brought up the sleep depth.
But there you go. Fight Club is one. I would tell you guys about the movie, but the first rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about it. So the second movie that but the second movie I had on my list that's left over is Joker, the first one. Don't talk about the next one.
Okay.
Because that's one of a newer example of the use of the unreliable narrator. Because there are so many variations in the movie Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker to be clear, and it's so good because not only is he unreliable, is Arthur unreliable, but then like so many other characters are also unreliable in interacting with him. So now the unreliable narrator is trying to process unreliable information. One character is his mom, who's also dealing with some issues, potentially delusional, maybe not. She's got forms from the asylum, but were they forged? Were they genuine? Was she actually dealing with issues? Because this is his mom. It's just been him and her. So of course he's going to trust her. He's trusted her with her his life, and now he's caring for her, so she's trusting him with her own life. So it's crazy. Like, so is there anything distrustful or unreliable there? Who knows? The claim is that his real father is Thomas Wayne, which would make him the older half brother of Bruce Wayne, aka the future Batman. But in exploring that, he's rich, and this would be an inappropriate relationship with an employee if it was the case. So he would have every reason in the world to deny it. So can we trust when he say he isn't? Can we trust the information coming from the Wayne people? Who knows? And then there's the author himself, and it's like he's going through his own issues. He's dealing with his own traumas. Can we trust anything that he says or sees? And there's so many different layers of people being unreliable and untrustworthy. The whole movie is a modern example that is just bleeding with unreliable narrator energy.
Well put.
Thank you.
How to use this in your writing.
Okay.
1, choose your why, be it trauma
Very
or
important.
guilt or delusion or lies or whatever, right? But have your catalyst.
And understand your catalyst. Please do the research. Please do the research. Like I said, a lot of this trope has to do with some sort of mental illness. If you're going to pick a disease, if you're going to pick a condition, study it. Get a book on the disease and read it. Like one that's written by a doctor or someone who suffered from it. Base it off of something you know. If you suffered from it yourself, have a conversation with your doctor, your therapist, about the disease, and just say, hey, can we spend this session discussing this so I can write about it? Be genuine. Because like I said, a lot of these tropes talk about these issues. It would be great if we're seeing real life versions of it and real challenges and make it as realistic as possible so that other people don't feel, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ostracized, demonized.
We'll take those. Those work. Those fit. Like, so people don't feel like, oh, look at this. Another villain is, deemed as crazy. Oh, another villain has a mental disease, and we're all just villains in the making. No, no one's going to say that. So if you're going to write these stories, be mindful of how sensitive these situations can be, and be respectful of it. So at least back it up with some information, some studies.
Yes. Decide when to let the audience know that the narrator can't be trusted. This is usually the climax of the story. So if you do make it the twist or don't make it the twist, it's just really easy to make it the twist.
It is. It's very easy to do that. You can do it halfway through. So we start to question everything that's already happened, question the sounds that happen behind in the background, and then question what happens after that through the rest of into the climax. So if you want to have like a questioning climax where you can do all kinds of really weird creative things, have it right before the climax story and then climax, then boom. Now we're questioning everything here.
Yep, absolutely. Use subtle clues. Let the reader feel the ground shift underneath them. And then lean into ambiguity and discomfort.
Remember the second view rule. Every good horror paper, like in a book or a movie, should be viewed twice. If you watch a horror movie, watch it twice. If you read a horror book, read it twice. In the second viewing or reading, because you've now caught the end, now you know how it ends, you should see signs of that throughout the entire book. Subtle, little bitty hints leading through that once you reread it, you're like, oh, I should have seen it right there. They said something in chapter 5. I should have caught it right away. I was like that kind of thing. That's what you should see. The little bits like that. I can relate it to wrestling, but it's like it's one of those. It's so almost minute that it doesn't even.
Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned I'll do it. So this will take like 30 seconds. I was watching. This happened in wrestling like literally last night.
Oh.
There was a battle royal, and in most battle royals, the rule is you fight and you throw them over the top rope, and both feet hit the ground. That's the rule. So if you go through the middle rope or the bottom rope, you're still in. So there was a big brawl earlier in the match. A bunch of people got thrown off or thrown out over the top, and then it comes down to one person who we think is the winner. Right? Comes down to everyone else is fighting. We're down to the one winner. Somebody we saw get eliminated earlier comes through from the back and just throws them out. How is that legal? Because upon replay, we see that they snuck under the ropes to escape and then was all part of the mix and then left and then came back at the end. So it's one of those tropes that wrestling uses a lot in battle royals, but it's one of those things like you can't tell what happened until the replay. Just like you should be able to see it really easily upon the rewatching or rereading. So it's a little thing that happens amongst other things that doesn't come back until the end. And when it does, you're like, wait a minute, how does this work? You go back and rewatch and you're like, it was right there. If I had just known it's right there, I'd have seen it and I had to cause the whole thing. Now you're smart because you know how it ends. Now you know the trick, so you can see the trick being done. And again, it's done in battle royals all the time. That's how it's done in battle royals. That's a connection between wrestling and writing. See, told you it wouldn't take me long.
About 30 seconds.
More or less.
That's fair. More or less. Take as you will. Okay, so horror isn't just what's outside the door, it's what's in your head.
And how you perceive outside.
Unreliable narrators make the mind itself a haunted house. And I would like to invite you to think about your favorite narrators and what stories made you question reality. Like, email us at sakoandthemoonpodcast@gmail.com and let us know. Or like comment below. Like, that would help too.
What's your favorite movie with an unreliable narrator? Did you like these movies? Did you like Joker? Did you trust everything that Joker was saying in that movie? Do you know the other rules of Fight Club? Did you know it's the same person? I said too much.
You said too much.
It's okay. This movie's like 30 years old. It's fine. Have you seen Shutter Island? Have you seen The Shining? Are there other unreliable narrator movies that we should have talked about but clearly didn't mention? Like, let us know. Mention it. It's right down there. Talk about it. It's right there. Comment. Type.
Comment. Do the things. So, today we talked about the unreliable narrator. Next week, we will probably be talking about nonfiction. That's along the lines of like true crime. So you true crime writers, gather your true crime writers and send this to them. And I think the movie that we are reviewing on Monday is going to be American Psycho.
The first one.
The first one.
Listen, the sequel doesn't even really connect. The sequel was a whole nother movie that they were just like, ooh, American Psycho's popular. Let's just take this movie. We'll mention Patrick Bateman and we'll call it American Psycho 2. Man. It has nothing to do with nothing. Like, we're not. I don't agree.
Let's not. I mostly hang out on Facebook and Bluesky, but if you Google Sako or Sako Tumi or Casboit, you will find all of my stuff. My art, my books, my belly dancing, my various websites, all that kind of stuff.
I'm just me. It's just me. It's just a dude right here. You can find me. You can look for me almost everywhere. DL Hearn writes, but you'll primarily interact with me on Bluesky. You can find me there. You can visit DewanLHearn.com and you can get really cool hats like this and see all the cool stuff that I'm into, all the other things and such. Actually, if you like Joker, I have a review of Joker on my website. You can read that.
We will have to share that and let the populace know your thoughts on the Joker.
Joker's
thanks for sticking it out to the end, guys. If you like this podcast, please rate us or like us or follow or subscribe or whatever.
All the things. Do all of it.
All the things. There's a whole bunch of buttons no matter where you're listening to this. And you can contact us at Sako and the Moon podcast at gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next week. Oh my gosh. Later, guys.
We're going to do this.